Going to get back to doing some college football previews for the 2022 college football season, going by conference this off season, and we're still going through the SEC. Got a couple teams left. Then we're going to move on to the Big Ten. But I know it's been a little while since I did break down a team and do a preview, so I'm going to get back to doing some of those for you guys today. We're going to look at a pretty interesting team that's kind of head-scratching and hard to figure out, and I don't say that in a trolling kind of way. Nothing but respect for this team. I don't know how you control them, but we're going to look at the Missouri Tigers for 2022. Let's see what Eli Drinkwitz can do. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Christian Ballard here with Ballard Sports Media. Thanks so much for tuning in today and watching the channel. Do me a favor. If you're new, hit that thumbs up, hit the subscribe button. I do all kinds of sports stuff. You know, we just wrapped up March Madness. I was live for quite a few games and everything, doing some football stuff throughout the offseason. I mostly do college football. That's the go-to talking point. Got a lot of good baseball stuff coming your way, too. I'm going to try to maybe find some time to maybe watch some games and react and talk some baseball with you guys, as that is definitely one of my top sports that I love to watch and cover. I played baseball, but enough about me, enough about that. Let's get back and let's get back to doing some of these 2022 college football previews, going by conference, starting with the SEC. And today we're looking at the Missouri Tigers. But before we look at 2022, let's look at what they did in 2021, which I would say was honestly kind of a disappointment. Not that they were supposed to go win the East or win it all or anything, but a lot of people, including myself, and shout out to my man TikTok Chess Hall, when we were both doing the Unprofessional Sports Show about a year ago, we were going through the SEC teams and what they could possibly do this season. And I think we both kind of agreed it was going to be Georgia and everybody else in the SEC East. But we said Missouri could possibly be that team and probably would be that team. And I think we ended up picking them to go 8-4 or 9-3, somewhere in there. Which I guess, is it understandable? Like, it is a little head scratching. 6-6, though. I mean, yeah, at least made a bowl game. I guess that kind of was the expectation for Eli Drinkwitz in Missouri, which Eli Drinkwitz at App State in one season went 12-1 back in 2019. He went 5-5 in his first year in 2020 at Missouri. Of course, a 10 game, season with COVID, and then this past year 6-7, lost the bowl game, but at least made it in his second season. So I don't think he's anywhere near necessarily the hot seat. He is 11-12 overall as the coach at Missouri so far, 8-10 in conference play. So obviously below 500 or whatever. Well, actually, I take that back. I guess maybe he's not. Yeah, he's won more than half his games. I don't know, but he's got more losses, at least one more than he does wins. But Eli Drinkwitz, I think, can be an amazing head coach. And speaking of that, part of that does come alongside in recruiting. We'll get to that in a second, but let's look at what they've done, what they did last year, right? 3-5 in SEC play, lost their last two games, 6-7 overall. They got off to a pretty good start, I guess. Central Michigan, the Chippewas, they play them at home. They win by 10. Central Michigan's a pretty good team on occasion, to play them and win by 10 points for Missouri, I think is actually pretty good. They lost only by a touchdown to Kentucky. They beat Southeast Missouri in a blowout, 59-28. No big deal. Boston College was a pretty good team to start out the season, and they're a really good team at home. To compete with them and take it to the wire in overtime and it be a late September game, you hate to lose that game. You hate to give it away. But, at the same time, that's not one where we look at it and say Missouri just lost to Boston College of all teams. It's not like that. Then you lose to Tennessee. who brought in a first-year head coach in Heupel, Josh Heupel, which I think he's doing some amazing things with Tennessee. Of course, I already talked all about Tennessee in the Tennessee preview. But the offseason that Tennessee had, they had a better we need to give Tennessee props for the season they had, considering the offseason that they had. But you lose to them. All I can say about that game is how do you give up? I get scoring only 24. You gave up 60. Gosh, how do you give up 62 to Tennessee? I mean, I'm not trying to turn this into a Tennessee bashing video or anything. When's the last time Tennessee scored anywhere near that? That's insane, man. You bounce back. North Texas, Mean Green, 48-35. You lose to the Aggies at home. Aggies are doing amazing in recruiting. I give Jimbo Fisher props for everything he did. This was right after the Aggies beat my Crimson Tide, which I got nothing but respect for them. They won the game fairly. Then you get a bye week at Vandy. You win. Georgia, nobody's going to get them. I think you closed it out okay. I think definitely these two wins here, and especially beating Florida in overtime, gave you a 6-win to where you could go to a bowl game. So that was very important. Arkansas was one of those teams that had the right start, not the right finish to the season. I think they were like 4 or 5-0 or something like that, or 4-1. Then they started to lose some games and fall off just a bit, but you lose to them by 17 points. Then you make the Armed Forces Bowl. You lose by 2. I think it was a late field goal for Army to win it. That was an incredible a bowl game too, by the way, back in December. So overall, 6-7. I think it's great that Missouri made a bowl game. 3-5 in SEC play. They hope. I think your goal should be to win more conference games. You get an 8-conference schedule. Could you at least be 500 in SEC play and win half? If not, win at least 5 out of your 8 games, which actually, if that's even 4, 5, 6, 8 conference games. So if you could win like 4 or 5 of those, I think it could be a pretty good season. Plus get a couple non-conference games in 2022, I think could be very good for Missouri. Moving on from last season, but before we get into this year's schedule for them, recruiting is very, very great. Let's look at what they've picked up. Recruiting is a big deal. They got a good roster. Eli Drinkwitz picked up Sam Horn, who's a native of Georgia, who's a quarterback, who is the 8th overall quarterback, the 14th player in the state of Georgia. So there's a little bit of competition. I think they still got Connor Bazelak, if I'm not mistaken, coming back. Someone let me know, Missouri fans. But you could have some competition there. But they got the number 1 receiver in the class, the 3rd overall player. This was actually a big surprise. He's from East St. Louis, Illinois. Luther Burden. I'm excited to see this guy play. Even build here, 6'0", 6 foot even, 200 even. That's a heck of a player. He's got great speed, great talent. Tavarius Jones is a 4-star running back, the 13th overall in the class. They got the 4th player in the state of Missouri. They got the 5th player in Isaac Thomas from the state of Missouri. They went and they got like a 3-star corner in Marcus Scott II. Like, for recruiting for Missouri, this is actually very good. They got the 3rd overall player in the state of Kansas, who's a 3-star wide receiver, Mekhi Miller. Overall, I would say they did pretty good. They did bring in some transfers too from like Tyron Hopper. I've heard of him. He's a great linebacker, 6'2", 197, comes in from Florida. Who's a former 4-star recruit, Auburn. Ian Matthews comes in, a 3-star defensive lineman. Texas A&M's Drayden Norwood in high school was a 4-star corner. He comes in. Joseph Charleston. Did Clemson fans let me know, did he play at Clemson, like actually see the field? I know I've heard of him. I've heard some good things, and I've seen his highlights. He looks like he could play well. Not good enough for Clemson. I don't know, but Missouri picks him up. So they've used the portal very well. They've recruited a 5-star wide receiver, like the top receiver, as I mentioned. You get a 4-star quarterback. For Missouri's recruiting standpoint, I think is very, very well. Uh, and like I say, just overall, Eli Drinkwitz, I think that I can tell he has a lot of passion for Missouri and wants the job. I don't think he should go into this season panicking too much. Like I said, the losses were not bad for him this past year. It's not. It wasn't like they lost to the worst of the worst teams. I mean, you beat a team in Central Michigan, you beat Southeast Missouri. There wasn't an embarrassing loss. Even at Boston College, who has fielded some good teams in the past. That's a tough place to go and play at Chestnut Hill. You only lost by 7 in overtime. You lost at Arkansas. Okay, Fayetteville, no big deal. Lost at Georgia, no big deal. A bowl game against Army. Army's a heck of a team, and we salute the troops. Thank you so much for all your services. Like I said, recruiting is great. The season, it's probably not what Missouri wanted, but maybe it's something that they needed to propel them and to say we should have done better, but maybe to also say that we can do better, especially with this next recruiting class that they're bringing in here. Let's go ahead and move on and look at the 2022 schedule for the Missouri Tigers here. Pull this up. Overall, I think it kind of works out here for them. It could be an interesting season. Well, I don't know. Louisiana Tech at home, that is not a bad team. La Tech, as some people call them, is like, it's one of those really good teams, right? Over in Conference USA, probably one of the better teams. Them and UAB, I think, would kill Conference USA. Right now they're still Division I school. They, they got some good players. Luke Anthony, Buck Buchanan is a good punter. Smoke Harris on the receiving side of the ball. So, but anyway, we'll see. We'll see what that looks like. That could be a trap game right out the gate. That could be a loss. The only reason why we would laugh at you losing to Louisiana Tech, I think, is if Louisiana Tech lays an egg this year and has a bad year. But I think they've been ranked before. They've made bowl games. They can normally be a 500 team, but you play Louisiana Tech, then you go to Kansas State in Manhattan, Kansas, at the Bill Snyder Family Stadium. They've beaten teams like Oklahoma in the past. They've also had some tough seasons, but they also can make some bowl games and go 7-5. Abilene Christian, I've heard of them. Honestly, I don't know how they do in football. Somebody let me know. In my opinion, you better not lose that game. So far, honestly, I think it starts out pretty favorable. Then you go to Auburn, and it starts to get kind of tough there. Play Georgia at Florida, get a bye week on October 15th. I would have put your honestly, I would have put your bye week after that Auburn game or probably before it. I don't know. But after the bye week, you get your homecoming game against Vanderbilt on October 22nd. Then you go to South Carolina to play Spencer Rattler and the Gamecocks. Of course, everything they're bringing in over there, Kentucky, at Tennessee, New Mexico State, and then you play your rival in Arkansas. And then you can cross this off unless you want to really get yourselves hyped up. But I think Georgia might win the East again. It's a good possibility. We'll see. But overall, is it favorable for them? No. I mean, possible upsets here. And I'm talking, these are games where they probably won't be favored, but could still find a way to win. Could they go to Jordan Hare and win this game? It's been a tough offseason for Harsin and the Auburn Tigers with rumors that he could already be out the door or recruiting's not going well. I don't know. So is Auburn going to suck this year? Are they going to have a tough year? It's possible, and if that's the case, maybe a team like Missouri is the cause of it. They could upset their rival in Arkansas. They could go and upset. Okay, is it an upset over Florida? I think it depends on how Florida looks. Now, I did pick Florida to win that game. So, I mean, I don't know. Hold on one second. Anyway. I picked Florida to win that game, so I guess that could be a possible upset. You're not going to upset all three of these teams, and then obviously I forgot to put Florida on there or whatever, which I still don't know. I don't think it's an upset either way that game goes because I don't know what to expect from these teams going into it, and I think they're kind of on the same level where, they were going in a good direction, and now – I mean, Florida's got a new head coach, but Missouri, like, is Eli Drinkwitz on a hot seat right now? I don't think so. I don't think he should be. I think that's what this season's going to determine for them. But I think if they could I think Missouri's trying to win a bowl game. We know they can make one. They did that. They bring a lot back. I mentioned how good the recruiting is, bringing in the number one receiver and everything like that. So they should have talent and everything to try to push forward to maybe a 7-win season and then a bowl game and possibly a bowl victory. But they could upset. Look, I don't list all the teams they could upset possibly. Like, if they beat Georgia, that's an upset. Why aren't they there? You're not beating Georgia. Just call it what it is. You could beat Auburn. You could get your rival in Arkansas. Is beating Kentucky an upset? I don't know. I think they're going to win that game regardless. So, here's what I got for you guys, right? Let's see. I think they start out pretty good, actually. Well, at least the first game. Let's cut to the chase here. And maybe I didn't list all the teams, but I'll double check. Trap game, the only one I got is Kansas State, but is it really a trap game? That's where, whenever I get to the Big 12, I'm doing the Big 10 next, and then maybe I do the Big 12 or something. That's where I'll get back to that when I look at Kansas State. I don't know. But you guys let me know. Anybody have anything on the Wildcats? I don't know what to make of them this upcoming season. Is it a trap game? I mean, you should win it, but you could possibly lose, or they shouldn't win that game on the road. That's where it's tough. See, Missouri's hard to figure out, and then there's also some teams that I have yet to figure out and look at yet. So that's stuff. Sorry, that's stuff I got to come back and look at. I'm just going to go ahead and say I think they go 7-5. I do think they lose that Kansas State game. I'm going to say they do lose to Auburn. I did have Florida winning at home. If that's at Missouri for Florida, maybe that's different, but that's a game where I'm kind of, I don't know. So I'm just going to take the home team. You'll beat Vandy. I think they do beat South Carolina. See, I don't think Missouri is going to have a bunch of losing streaks or whatever this year. I don't think it's going to be built on that. I think that they could be competitive enough to where, yeah, they're going to lose some games, but they bounce back at some point. So you're talking about losing Georgia, Florida, have a bye week, beat Vandy, and then maybe beat South Carolina. then I think that they'll beat Kentucky. Then they lose to Tennessee. They beat New Mexico State, and I think they do beat. They'll lose to Arkansas. So I'm gonna say that they go 7-5 overall this season. But again, Missouri fans, please comment down below and help me out. What am I missing? What's your favorite players from the recruiting class? Because again, you guys did great. You got a 4-star quarterback in Sam Horn. Marquise Gracial is a 4-star defensive lineman who's 6'4", 310. You got a running back in Tavoris Jones. Why did I say Tavarius? You got the 5-star Luther Burden. But you got to be able to put these guys on the field and use them. Honestly, is you got to work at it. So, and I think that they could. I really do. You got a second-year head coach. Yeah, we'll see. But again, I don't know. They haven't won a bowl game since the Citrus Bowl against Minnesota in 2014, back when they had Coach Gary Pinkel, by the way. So, and again, I have them 7-5. So that does get them into a bowl game. I'm not here to predict bowl games. I'm here to just predict regular season and give you guys that information. But anyway, I love you guys. I'm gonna get out of here. Again, 7-5. Maybe they do worse than that. Maybe they lay an egg and go 4-8 or 5-7, and you can invert what I gave you guys. Maybe they're a little bit better. Maybe they are a 9-3 or 8-4 team. See, this is one of those things that's just so hard to figure out. But I want to hear from you guys in the comments. I'm gonna leave it up to you. What do you expect? Again, I got them 7-5. They'll lose to Kansas State on the road, Auburn on the road, Florida at home, Tennessee, Arkansas, and Georgia, where, I think that, actually, I apologize. I counted that wrong. I do think they'll lose to those teams, but I miscounted that. That's actually 6-6. But, they could still, let's say of those losses, what would get them to 7-5? Do they beat Auburn? Is it Arkansas? I don't think it's Georgia. It could be Tennessee. It could be Florida, right? Of those, which would you say you give them? But that's actually 6 losses. I got them there. But either way, I do think they go 6-6, 7-5, somewhere in there. One of those two. Like I said, possibly 8-4, but I do think they could definitely make a bowl game this season in college football, and they could be one of the better teams. And I say this like more surprising. Like maybe they do a little better than people expect them to be. Because I'm hearing a lot. Like I've read some stuff like people say they go 5-7, or someone even said on Twitter somewhere. I don't remember who it was, but I think it said 4-8. I don't know, but I don't know, 7-5, 6-6, somewhere in there. But we'll just have to wait and see what happens. But hey, I love you guys. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching and tuning in. Please like, comment, and subscribe right here to Ballard Sports Media for more sports content. And until next time, folks, Ballard Sports Media. Check it out. Love y'all. Jesus loves you. God bless. And as always,
roll down Tide.
Roll Tide. Love y'all. Ballard is out. Peace.